Welcome to the 49th ElectroJet Rock Show. I'm your host, Jett, and I have with me from LA, the Professor, coming to you. And tonight we're doing show number 49. Great or overrated? And tonight we're doing the show on The Who. But first of all, how's it going, P.E.?
It's going all right. Really excited about this show. Love the band, and thanks for coming along for the rock and roll ride, everybody. And thanks for coming back. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit that subscribe button and subscribe to our channel for great content.
Yeah, so The Who, great or overrated? Now, yeah, there's a lot of people that to me, The Who is kind of a polarizing kind of thing. A lot of people really like them, and then a lot of people don't really like them. So, what do you think, P.E.?
I think they're great. I like them. I like them because they're, you know, the Beatles, if you looked at them, they were kind of almost a homogeneous group. They kind of looked the same. Sometimes they even kind of sounded the same. Sometimes people had to, is that Paul or is that John singing? You know, and then when you looked at The Who, they were like a study in contrast. All four of them were very different. They were different looking. They sounded different. They had a different style of playing on stage. And so I found that interesting, and they had a lot of interesting, different kinds of songs where, you know, I love the Beatles. Beatles are great. I'm not knocking the Beatles. It's just The Who was a different animal because they had different songs. They just had kind of like a whole different strategy of how they, you know, how they wrote music and how they created. And they were also kind of an avant-garde pop art, you know, kind of thing, almost like, you know, just like in the way that they use destruction as an example. Destruction as an art form. They I don't know whether they actually, you know, I think they popularized that. They probably didn't invent it. And then, you know, they probably were one of the first that had this, you know, rock operas, along with Queen, like Quadrophenia and Tommy. And, of course, being a bass player, I just think John Entwistle is just phenomenal. He just had a great bass sound, just great riffs and licks, and just his bass playing was off the charts great. I put him and Geddy Lee in terms of rock bass players as 1 and 1A. They were just both great in their own different ways. But so I really, you know, I like The Who a lot. So how about you, Jett?
P.E., you're on fire with all that. Oh, that's phenomenal. Yeah, man. Everything you were talking about. One thing I can chime in on about is also Pete Townsend was one of the synthesizer revolutionary guys, one of the first guys to use it. Although there was a few other musicians that used the synthesizers when they first came out. Although Townsend was one of the first. Keith Emerson and probably George Harrison, really, like on Here Comes the Sun or something like that.
Beach Boys too.
No, that was a theremin. So technically, that's,
okay.
All right, yeah. So my take on The Who, I'm a big, huge Who fan. A big Keith Moon fan. His drumming was like his personality. It was totally over the top. He didn't really use a hi-hat. It was always crashed right. I'm sure that annoyed Townsend to no end. Entwistle, of course, everything you said. Roger, very unique voice. Doesn't smoke, so therefore he can still hit those high notes usually. And in fact, if you're in the audience and you're smoking in like the 10th row or something, he's actually said things to people like, You blew the gig tonight. Thanks a lot. You're blowing off with all your pot smoke or cannabis smoke or whatever. So, but Pete Townsend, Quadrophenia is my favorite Who album. It's just phenomenal, and I love the early pop stuff. It's brilliant, although it is very chord driven, but. Pete Townsend has even said, well, somebody had to nail it down because Entwistle said that to be in a band with Keith Moon, you have to play the bass like Keith plays the drums. So it's very bippity, bippity, bippity. So Townsend had to nail it down. Now, he's also a really good singer. He's a phenomenal singer. He's got some range. He's clean because he doesn't smoke a lot, or maybe never smoked really. So he's got that clean voice, and his lead guitar playing is very underrated, I think. Like if you listen to like Eminence Front or something like that, after Mooney passed away, Eminence Front, for example, like the soloing on that is really cool. So I'm a big Who fan, and I think they're friggin' great. So what else you want to say, P.E., and then we'll close it up.
Yeah, I think we covered it pretty much. I would say that I saw them at the LA Sports Arena. I didn't get to see them with Keith Moon. I was probably too young at that time, but I did get to see him. I think it was one of their first reunion tours after Mooney passed away. I saw him with Kenny Jones, and man, they were phenomenal. Great show, incredible.
Yeah, I saw him at the Greek Theater in Los Angeles, and it was literally the day after John Entwistle died. So they had to bring in Pino Palladino, but it was at the Greek, man. It was actually it was a good show.
Was Simon Phillips on drums?
No, it was Zach Starkey, phenomenal drummer.
Oh, also good.
Kenny Jones. I think there's been a few people in the band that have said maybe wasn't necessarily the best choice. To me, Simon Phillips was phenomenal in the Who, but Zach, especially when he first joined the band, he was really Mooneying it up. He's toned it down a little bit, but yeah, I love Zach in the band. Yeah, I saw him at the Greek. They were great. And what was that band? Counting Crows opened the show. Mr. Jones. Well, anyway, so don't forget to like and subscribe. This is Jett signing off with
Professor and
Rock and Roll.
Rock and Roll.